The QWERTZ or QWERTZU keyboard is a widely used computer and typewriter keyboard layout that is mostly used in Central Europe. The name comes from the first 6 letters at the top left of the keyboard, Q, W, E, R, T, and Z. The main difference between QWERTZ and QWERTY is that the positions of the Z and Y keys are switched, this change being made for 2 major reasons. Z is a much more common letter than Y in German. The latter rarely appears outside words whose spellings reflect either their importation from a foreign language or the Hellenization of an older German form under the influence of Ludwig I of Bavaria. T and Z often appear next to each other in the German orthography, and placing the 2 keys next to each other minimizes the effort needed for typing the 2 characters in sequence. Like in many other non-English keyboards, part of the keyboard is adapted to include language-specific characters, for example umlauted vowels in German and Austrian keyboards. QWERTZ keyboards usually change the right Alt key into an Alt-G key to access a third level of key assignments. This is necessary because the language-specific characters leave no room to have all the special symbols of ASCII, needed by programmers among others, available on the first or second levels without unduly increasing the size of the keyboard. The placements of some special symbols are changed when compared to the English versions of QWERTY. Some of special key inscriptions are often changed from an abbreviation to a graphical symbol. In German and Austrian keyboards, most of the other abbreviations are replaced by German abbreviations. ESC for escape is not translated however. A QWERTZ keyboard layout is sometimes informally nicknamed a QWERTZboard, substituting the Y with a Z. Variants. The QWERTZ layout is fairly widely used in Germany and in the majority of Central European and Balkan countries that use the Latin script. Austria and Germany. The PC keyboard layout commonly used in Germany and Austria is based on one defined in a former edition of the German standard DIN 2137-2. The current edition DIN 2137-2012-06 standardizes it as the first one of 3 layouts, calling it a OET1 a Euro. It employs dead keys to type accented characters like a Euro or a V Euro, and the Alt-G key to access characters in the third level. The A OET2 a Euro layout as specified in the 2012 edition of the German standard also uses the group selection to access special characters like the long S, or foreign characters like a Euro or a Euro or a Euro or a Euro. Czech. The QWERTZ keyboard layout is commonly used in the Czech Republic, but the QWERTY variant is an option. Hungary. Note that on some keyboards angstrom plus or minus is found to the right of the right shift key. Also, many Hungarians who were not exposed to typewriters, but started using computers when Hungarian keyboards were uncommon or unavailable, still prefer the layout with the YZ keys in their QWERTY locations because that is what they are used to. The same applies to Hungarians who frequently switch between a QWERTY and a Hungarian layout. Poland. A variant of the QWERTZ keyboard has been used in Poland, but QWERTY keyboards have been dominant since the early 1990s. Slovak. Typewriters in Slovakia have used the QWERTZ layout quite similar to the layout used on the Czech typewriters. Slovak QWERTZ layout differs from the Czech one in using the letter A3/4 instead of the Czech A on the same position, also the letter angstrom yen is on the position of Czech angstrom unregistered trademark and the letter A is on the position of Czech angstrom. There are 2 more keys that differ in these 2 languages. Slovak A currency key and Slovak angstrom key replaces the Czech A key. There are 17 characters from American keyboard that are missing on the Slovak keyboard because of the presence of the Slovak letters. Users can access them with the Alt-G key, however, position of these characters varies between different operating systems. Besides the QWERTZ keyboard layout inherited from the typewriter era, QWERTY layout is also used by computer users in Slovakia. The only difference is that the Y and Z keys are swapped. South Slavic Latin. The Bosnian, Croatian, Serbian Latin and Slovene keyboard layout has 5 additional special characters or A, angstrom 1/2, angstrom and A. This keyboard layout was standardized in the 1980s in Yugoslavia. Characters A and A are only part of Gauge's Latin alphabet but not part of the Slovene alphabet, nevertheless they remain in Slovenian keyboards. The angstrom 1/2 is on the right side of the A key on keyboards which have a longer backspace key, and the usual inverted L-shaped enter key. The layout makes heavy use of the Alt-G key for non-alphabetic characters and dead key combinations for adding diacritics to Latin characters. It is possible to type German and Italian using only the Bosnian Serbian keyboard layout. There is a proposed variant of New Slovene keyboard layout, which would remove A and A from top layout and add it and instead. The command keys would also become translated into Slovene and some minor second-level layout changes would be made. For Serbian, there is also a Cyrillic keyboard variant. Switzerland, Liechtenstein, Luxembourg. The layout of the Swiss keyboard is designed to allow easy access to frequently used accents of the French, German and Italian languages. The difference between the Swiss German and the Swiss French layout is that the German variety has the German umlauts accessible without dead keys, while the French version has the French accented characters accessible in the unshifted state. The actual keyboards have the keys engraved for both variations. The difference is only in the driver setting. In the latest versions of Windows there are also separately listed driver settings for Swiss Italian and Swiss Romansh, but they correspond to the Swiss French and Swiss German layout, respectively. In Mac OS X 10.6 only Swiss French and Swiss German is available. On Windows, Swiss German does not include the Eschacht ligature, which is only used in Germany and Austria, and so that letter is not found on the keyboard. Linux typically assigns I to Alt-GRS. While the German keyboard uses German language abbreviations, Swiss keyboards use the English abbreviations as a neutral solution, as they are used for all the national languages of Switzerland. Luxembourg does not have a keyboard layout of its own. Public education uses the Swiss French keyboard, while the banking sector prefers the Belgian layout. Other places use either or the US layout. Liechtenstein, which also has no keyboard layout of its own, uses the Swiss German keyboard. See also: AZERTY, QWERTY, QZERTY, German keyboard layout, Blickensderfer typewriter, Dvorak simplified keyboard, Neo, optimized German keyboard layout.